Hey guys, John with Phone Opinion with a review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 on Verizon Wireless. If you're familiar with the Note line at all, then you know that they're big phones. In hand, it is large, you can see that, but it doesn't feel bad at all. It's pretty comfortable. It's got a nice thin form factor to it. It feels substantial in hand, but it's not heavy, it's not light, cheap feeling. It actually feels pretty good. The design on this phone, as you can see, it looks like metal, but it's plastic. It's good looking. Doesn't feel cheap, but it's not metal. It's not designed like an Apple device, but it's a Samsung device. On the back, they got this plastic cover that's supposed to mimic the look of leather with this faux stitching. And you know what? It actually is kind of nice. At first, I was like, yeah, big deal. You know, it kind of looks kind of dumb when I see it in the pictures and stuff. But once you actually get the phone, it really does complement it, and it feels good in hand compared to their older design with the high gloss plastic backs and whatnot. This feels good in hand. On a side note, I guess the white version, for some reason, is slipperier than the black version, so that's something you want to keep in mind if you're kind of clumsy with your phone or whatever, afraid of dropping it. But all in all, it is a big phone, but they've done a good job at designing it where it's pretty much all screen with just a little bit of, bezels on the end here and whatnot. It's actually, for as big as the screen is, the phone's not that obnoxious in your hand. So anyway, speaking of the screen, it is a Super AMOLED 1080p display, and it is gorgeous. I mean, it looks good. It's big. If you like to read multimedia on your phone, you really can't beat the size of the screen. 5.7 inches. Some people may think it's a little bit too big, but I think if you got a hold of the phone and held it in hand, you'd see that it's not as bad as some people make it out to be, because the way they've designed the phone, yeah, it really is just, it's screen with a back on it. On the front here, you've got the Samsung home button with the back button and the settings button. On the side here, you got your on-off switch. Up top, you got your headphone jack. Over here on the side, you got the volume rocker, which I tell you one thing I don't like about it, even though it looks good as far as the design of the phone, I wish they would have separated up from down so you have a more distinct feel when you're reaching to adjust the volume, because a lot of times you can't tell where your thumb is, and when you want to turn the volume up, you're turning it down and vice versa. Down on the bottom here, you got your charging port, which is USB 3.0, which you can still use your old USB ports. It just plugs into this side, but this 3.0, it charges this phone super fast. I mean, you just plug it in when it's almost dead, and within an hour and a half, I mean, it's almost fully charged. So you got the speaker here on the bottom, then of course you got your S Pen. So anyway, looking at the screen again, I can't get over how well they designed this into the phone. This phone is a screen. I mean, that's what it is, and I kind of like it. Well, anyway, when you get inside here, you've got your typical Android fare here. It is real smooth operating. It's got the 2.3 gigahertz quad-core processor, 3 gigs of RAM. 3 gigs of RAM, which is the highest of any smartphone on the market right now. And this phone is just blistering. I put this live wallpaper on it, which is pretty graphic intensive. I'll just let you see how graphic intensive it is, and it runs pretty well in here, but that, just watching it go, yeah, that's fine, but then you start scrolling through all your apps and your pages and stuff, and it just doesn't stutter at all. It's just, I mean, it's a fast phone. It really is a fast phone. I mean, with this going on, you just scroll through your pages, there's no lag, no hang up, no anything. And it really, if you're looking for a fast device, you really can't beat what this has to offer. As far as settings go, it's got your typical Android. You scroll down from the top, you have access to your quick settings, and then you have the button here to go a little more in depth. But everything you need is right here at your fingertips, and it's just real convenient and easy to get to and take care of what you need to as far as turning on and off your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or whatever. If you want to dig deeper into the settings, you've got the settings button down here. Just hit that and click on settings. And it brings up a large menu of different options. Again, in here you can turn on and off your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, but you can also use the shortcuts. You get your deeper, menu as far as adjustments for sounds, display, calls, whatnot. And then you scroll down further here, you get your Samsung offerings, which if you're familiar with anything as far as the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the newer Samsung devices, then you'll probably have seen some of these, but these are nifty. A lot of these are real nifty, cool things that the phone can do. Are they necessarily useful? You know what, I guess that depends on you, but you go into motions and gestures. You have air view, air command, motion. Air view is, say you've got your whole library of pictures up, you take the pen and you just kind of hover the pen tip over each picture. It'll enlarge it on the screen so you can take a look at it and see if that's the one you want to select. Air command is when you pull the S Pen out, a little menu will pop up on the screen every time you remove the pen. It's handy if that's the only functions you use the pen for, but if you use the pen for a lot of different things, it might get irritating for you, so they do give you the option to turn it off, which is kind of nice. You go into voice control, which I've got it turned off. I've tried it out, and it is cool, and some people may find it useful. I find it kind of gimmicky, but you can, if you have calls coming in, instead of taking that extreme effort of taking your finger and swiping answer or reject, you can say answer or reject, and it'll work. That being said, if your ringtone is really loud or whatever, there's a lot of background noise in the room or wherever you're at, a lot of times the phone won't acknowledge what you're saying, so you got to start yelling, answer really loud, and it'll hear you eventually. It'll acknowledge it and it'll answer the phone, but it doesn't work flawlessly if there's a lot going on in the background. For the alarm, you could turn on and off or you can, if the alarm's going off, you can just say stop or snooze, and it'll snooze it for you. And again, it's kind of nifty, but if your alarm's real loud, you may run into the same issue with with the ringtone. The camera now, that one is, it's pretty cool. Instead of hitting a button, you can just say, cheese or smile or whatever you set it to, and it'll take a picture for you. And the music one, if you don't have headphones on, then it's pretty much a waste, because if the music's blaring out of the speaker, you can say stuff like next or stop, pause, volume up, volume down, and the phone is just not going to recognize you if you got the music blaring. If you have headphones in, it's a different story. It should work fine unless you're outside in a construction zone or something like that. But other than that, I mean, that one is probably the most useful if you've got your headphones in. And then you got a menu here for S Pen where you can, like the S Pen Keeper, say you're using your pen and you set it down on your desk and you walk away with your phone and an alarm will go off saying, hey, dude, you forgot your pen. And that way you don't leave without your pen. So that one's kind of useful. And there's a couple other ones in here that you can just tweak to whatever you want to do. So they do offer quite a bit. Don't be overwhelmed by this. Especially if you're coming from like an Apple device or whatever, you come to a newer Android device, or especially this Note 3, and there's a lot going on, but once you take the time to learn it, there's a lot to offer here. There's a lot of unique functions that Android has to offer that maybe you don't have on the iPhone. Of course, the same could be said the other way too. There's a lot of things on the iPhone that may not necessarily be on the Android, but I'm going to tell you, Android's come a long way since the old days of the Droid and the Droid X, where it was kind of clunky and slow and confusing. It's come a long way. Is it as user friendly as, say, the iPhone is? Probably not, but they're not far behind. And if you want a little bit of a challenge, or if you want your phone to offer you more options, then I don't think you'd be disappointed going with Android now. Back in the day, I would have said, nah, I don't know, man. If you don't know much about phones, or if you don't want to mess with it, stay away. But they have really come a long way. It's actually been pleasant using this. The thing that separates the Note from any other phone on the market is the inclusion of the S Pen. Now, yeah, you can go out and you can buy a stylus and you can use it on your cell phone. You can use it on your tablet. But the S Pen is integrated into the DNA of the Note, and it's what makes the Note a Note. Now, if you're worried about it in your pocket or in your purse, if the pen's going to fall out, you're going to lose it, it's in there really securely. It's not going to fall out. To get the pen out, you just take your thumbnail, pull it out. When you do, the Air Command menu pops up on the screen, and it gives you a few options, a few shortcuts. You have Action Memo, Scrapbooker, Screen Write, S Finder, and Pen Window. Now, to me, the most useful one is the action memo. You just click on it, a little post-it note shows up on the screen, and say you need to remind yourself to get some milk after work or something. Just write down, get milk, and you can go ahead and minimize it. And there, this little post-it sticky note pops up on your home screen. You can drag it around, move it wherever you want to put it, but it's there to remind you. Anytime you look at your phone, you're not going to forget what you need to do. So now you can either close these out by hitting X just to get rid of it, but I'm going to show you you can also erase on here, and I'll show you what else you can do with this. Say someone gives you their phone number, you write it down. Okay, and you just click on the action, link to action button here, and it'll bring up a menu of certain things you can do. You can dial the number, add it to your contacts, send a message. So I'll just go ahead and hit on the phone, and boom, it brings up the phone number just the way I wrote it down. So it just shows you that the software is pretty good at translating what you write down over to text. It does a pretty good job at that. So go ahead and open this up, and you can go ahead and close this out. I wanted to show you one more thing. Actually, let me do it this way. You have a list right here of you can make like a bunch of notes, and you hit this little button here, list view, and it goes out and brings up any note that you have here. So say you and your family are planning a trip to Washington, D.C., and you want to go visit the White House or something like that, do some sightseeing. You can just write down the address here. You go ahead for the same thing, link the action button, and you click on the map button here, and it'll go ahead and bring up the address and give you Google Maps directions right to you want to go turn by turn. So that's a pretty nifty feature, and that's why I feel that the action memo to me is the most useful of the shortcuts for the S Pen. So, and you've seen how when you bring the pen out, it automatically brings up the air command. But when you already have the pen out and it's closed out, there's a little button on the pen. You just point at the screen, click it, and it brings the menu back up. Next one is Scrapbooker. Now for me, I can't see myself using it much. If you go on trips and whatnot, you can take pictures and collect stuff and put it all in your scrapbook for something to remember. It's not my type of thing to do, but I'm sure a lot of people will find it useful. But I'll just give you a quick example of how you could use it, just so you see what it's like. Say here we'll just go to NHL.com, and let's see what we got here. And we'll just click on this here, and what you can do now, if you want to say so Callahan got hurt, he broke his thumb. Say you wanted to set up a scrapbook to just kind of follow his progress from when he's got hurt to when he wants to come back. For your ladies, this is a guy thing. Anyway, you can go ahead and just save this in your scrapbook. So you just bring up your menu, hit Scrapbooker. Just go ahead and circle this. And then we'll go ahead and add it to our scrapbook. Close this out. Go ahead and bring up scrapbook. And click on that. It's in there already. You can go ahead and click on the link in there. It brings a link and everything to the website right with it. So again, it's pretty nifty if it's your type of thing. I don't see myself using it much, but a lot of people I'm sure are going to find it real useful for them. So, and the next one is ScreenWrite, which, say you want to write a note to yourself on a screen or whatever, or if you're on a website and you see something that you like, you can just circle it, whatever it is, and draw an arrow, and then you can forward it to a friend that's something they want to look at or whatever. Again, it's not something I see myself using, but a lot of people out there I'm sure will find it useful. I don't see the point of it having the action memo as far as notes and whatnot, but again, if you're on a website, you could find some stuff that you want to show a friend, circle it, send it to them, and they know exactly what you're looking at. So go ahead and close that out. And the next one is S Finder, which is pretty much a glorified search. Like if you're familiar with the iPhone at all, you can on the iOS 6 you'd scroll all the way to the left and a little search bar would come up, and we'll just type in NHL, and it'll go ahead and bring up an NHL app, and it goes to scrapbook and brings up a couple different things that are saved in your scrapbook. So if you have a phone full of all sorts of stuff and you're thinking, you know what, I know I had this on my phone, I just don't know where to find it, I can't remember, and you just type in a couple keywords, it'll bring it up for you. You'll be able to find it on your device. So it's pretty handy, especially the more your phone's filled up. Now the last one is the pen window. And this one, I'll give you a quick demonstration. The best way to use this, I guess, would be in the multimedia, in the multitasking. So over here on the left side, you have your little multitasking app drawer, I guess you'd call it. And it has all the apps that you can use for multitasking. You can't use every app on your phone. There's only certain ones that support it. But there's quite a few. So say you bring up the internet, okay, and then you want to listen to music at the same time. I guess that's a poor example because you can do that on any phone. So we'll close that out and try something different. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll just YouTube, I guess. Bring up YouTube. You can search the internet and be on YouTube at the same time, which is pretty cool. You can text message and be on the internet. You can watch YouTube and do text messaging or Hangouts or anything like that. And if you want to bring up the pen window, it gives you shortcuts to a couple things while you're doing something else. So say you're on here, say you're surfing the internet and you want to crunch some numbers, so you just draw a window and it'll bring this up. And you got the calculator, your clock, you can make a phone call or whatever. So it's some pretty nifty features there. And that pretty much, actually I want to show you guys one more thing with the pen here. Earlier in the settings I talked about air view. If you go ahead and just hover the pen on the screen, like say you have a folder here with lots of different apps in it, you just hover it over it, it'll kind of open it up and show you exactly what's in there without having to go inside and do it. So that's a little nifty feature. Also with photos, if you have your whole line of your photo album here, you can click over each picture and it'll make it bigger so you can tell if that's the picture you're looking for to send to someone, or make it as a profile picture or something like that. So that's pretty much sums up the S Pen, and again it makes it an awful nifty device compared to what's out there on the market. And here are just a few sample images I took with the 13 megapixel camera. That's one of the higher megapixel cameras on the market, if that's even a word, but it does a pretty good job at still photos. For just a quick point and click and shoot in any kind of situation, it'll definitely get the job done for you. Now video recording, on the other hand, this thing really does a great job at taking videos. This here is 1080p. The device will also shoot 4K video, but obviously with a 1080 display you're not going to be able to see a difference watching it on the phone. But if you have a 4K television, have at it. It should look pretty outstanding. But for just regular 1080p video, this camera does a really good job. So there you have it. There's Verizon's offering of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. So if you're wondering what my take is, what my opinion is of this phone, I'm going to tell you right now, this is a great device. Really nothing out there that's going to beat this as far as just pure raw processing power, multimedia, multitasking, you name it. This phone does it all. The S Pen adds the unique functions that nothing else has. And there really is nothing out there that can trump this phone right now. Even the Nexus 5 coming down this pipe here at the end of this month or whatever, everything I've read on the specs, it's not as powerful as this phone, and yeah, it doesn't have the pen. So this is definitely the device to have right now. Pair it with the Galaxy Gear that I reviewed before, and you got yourself a 1-2 combo that really can't be beat. So there you have it. This is John with Phone Opinion. If you like my video, please take the time to give me a thumbs up, and I really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. I look forward to bringing you some more reviews on different devices, cases, you name it. So, hey, thanks for tuning in.